Well, my son was riding around on his bike during our camping trip this last week.
Sure.
He was riding around like the camp area and the beach with my friend. My friend's just trying to entertain him while I get camp set up.
Quiet, please.
And Max just blurts out, well, we live on a cul-de-sac, and most of the cars in the cul-de-sac are my dad's. And the best part of this is my friend doesn't even question him because he knows me. And he's like, well, of course it's true.
But it's true.
4.
He's right. He's not wrong.
3.
I never said that.
2.
Company presents a truly terrible podcast. Welcome to Nonsense, Season 2, Episode 24. I'm Jeff Parker.
I'm Stu Little.
This is our take on the week's business, tech, and entertainment headlines. This time we'll look at news stories we've missed.
That's a lot. That's a lot of stories we've missed, Jeff.
It is Helen Keller Day. Helen Keller was born on June 27th, 1880 in Alabama, but things turned bad quickly. At 19 months, she suffered from a form of bacterial meningitis, which left her unable to see, hear, or speak. The family sought the advice of Alexander Graham Bell, a famous scientist and inventor known for inventing the first telephone, among other things. He advised them to apply to the Perkins Institute for the Blind in Boston.
Ironically, they sent him a letter. They didn't call him.
They followed Bell's advice, and in 1887, Keller was taught by Anne Sullivan, a young teacher who had suffered vision impairment herself. Sullivan used touching techniques, and her skilled guidance calmed the seemingly uncontrollable Keller. Keller learned how to read and write in Braille thanks to Sullivan's own experiences that gave her a deeper understanding of her students' struggles. So we celebrate Helen Keller and, of course, Anne Sullivan as well today.
You know, what's most impressive to me is that, first of all, this is 1887, so 140 years ago.
Yeah.
And then Anne Sullivan, her touching technique gets Helen Keller basically an able-bodied human,
Sure.
which is incredible.
They went on and did a vaudeville show together.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But then meanwhile, my touch teaching gets me blacklisted from Disneyland. So I don't understand how. I need better jokes.
Jokes are hard.
Jokes are hard, as it turns out. They're not just easy. They don't all just come to us like you, Jeff.
So how's your week going?
I don't know if you know this or not, but summer is here.
Is that right?
And it is hot. It is here, and it is fucking pissed off.
Yes. Oh, it's angry.
I feel like Montgomery Burns twisted the little Nest thermostat from 75 here in Southern California to 100 just to watch everything burn, and it's just
to watch
super,
a squirm. Yes.
super hot. So I think if just like with the Nest thermostat in your house, if we all just sit really still,
It'll think we're away. Is that
it'll
it?
cool off. Yeah, that's the joke. That's the joke. Like I said, jokes are hard. I took my kids to the beach for a week of quote unquote beach camping. It's not really camping. It's just hanging out in an RV park near the beach with a bunch of other folks in RVs and trailers.
What's wrong with that? That sounds nice.
It's not my jam. You're stacked on top of each other. And
Oh,
it's
really?
just- yeah. The whole point to me of camping is getting out in the middle of nowhere where there are no other humans.
Yeah, sure.
That's not this.
Can you fly drones? What do you do when you're there? What's your entertainment?
You fly kites.
Oh, I'd love that.
Because some of us still have passion for that. Yeah, we flew kites. You don't get in the water because the water there was closed due to, quote, excessive bacteria levels. I guess supposedly there's like raw sewage being dumped in the water from Tijuana, and the current just brings that all up north.
Comes right up to San Diego, right?
Right into San Diego, where we were. Although we go to the Bayside, you're close enough. It's a 2-minute bike ride from the Bayside. The Bayside apparently was poop free, so we can go there.
Oh, okay.
It was a ton of fun. I got to let my kids pick every day what we did, and they pretty much just wanted to ride their bikes everywhere, which is awesome because my children, they will just pedal and pedal and pedal until their legs fall off, and that's all they want to do.
Absolutely love that.
And it was great. We had a good time. We got some sun. We enjoyed it. We got sand everywhere in everything that I own, so I'm still working on getting rid of that.
Of course you did.
But it was fun. How about you? How was your week?
My dad had his 90th birthday party.
Wow.
90 years old, which is really cool. It was part birthday, part family reunion. And oh my gosh, the absolute joy of seeing so many people that I deeply love all at the same time in one place and in person. It was the absolute best.
That's amazing.
I had the greatest experience. It was really fun.
Did you convert the few there that don't listen to our show to listeners? I hope you passed out nonsense cards.
I didn't have to because there are people among my family who are already passionate listeners, and they were doing that work for me, which was great.
That's great.
That was really sweet.
You've outsourced it. That's fantastic. You've distributed the shilling. I'm very impressed. If anybody could do it, I knew it would be you. I did have a great moment during my holiday when, from this little summer trip that we took, where I was talking to one of my friends who invited us down to this trip, and he's a listener and loves the show. I was chatting with him and one of his buddies I'd never met before, and that guy started telling me about this podcast he's listening to that was talking about colleges, and the guys were going on and talking about colleges, and I looked at him, and my buddy goes, "Yeah, that's him. That's his podcast." And the guy went, "Oh, it's you." And I was like, yeah, it's me. Like, you didn't recognize the voice? He's like, "No." And I was like, "Great. Okay, cool." cool.
And he folded his arms, walked away, and refused to speak to you ever again.
He punched me in the throat as hard as he could and then walked away. No, it was actually really fun. It was like a moment of him connecting the dots and me being, welcome to the D list of podcast celebrityism.
I love it.
But here we are.
Let's get to our headlines.
Let's do it.
Researchers upend AI status quo by eliminating matrix multiplication in LLMs. This is a story no one is going to understand.
Sure.
We have a bunch of stories about AI, and there's a lot of important stuff happening in the world of AI this week. Really big things. This is huge. This is potentially monumental, the most important story maybe of the year.
Sure.
And I think it's also the most boring.
Well, I don't know if I'd call it boring, but then again, I come from a skewed perspective because over the weekend, right after my vacation, I was thinking, I should eliminate matrix multiplication from LLMs. That's what I was thinking. And instead what I did...
Here's somebody's already done it.
Yeah, instead I put a new solar cover on my pool, but it was basically the same amount of effort. And
same idea. No,
this is actually super cool.
This is really cool, though.
Yeah.
I can't express to you, this is such an amazing thing if this works.
So I'll give you the super high level of this. So effectively, when you have these AIs that do things, what you're really looking at are a whole bunch of these nodes that are all floating point values, just numbers, effectively. And what these folks have done, and this is like UC Santa Cruz, UC Davis, a bunch of other schools whose names I can't pronounce.
Lux Tech, Soochow, yeah.
All those. So what they've done is they've made a very sort of simplistic version of, and I'm putting that in quotes, of these LLMs that don't use matrices at all. They're basically using ternary values. So it's either one of three values, a 1, a 0, or a -1. And then they've smoothed every other part of the process out so that it will work with these ternary values. And they built a FPGA.
What's an FPGA?
Field Programmable Gate Arrays. They're basically simple integrated circuits that you can build to do whatever you want, right? You can make them be very specific. And these folks have put this FPGA in front of a GPU, as I've come to understand it, to do most of the work. And what that's allowed it to do is be more efficient. And then ultimately you scale this up faster with less computational power needed than what you're seeing at market. Now, they have not scaled this up to the size necessary for these training sets, but they believe that it could work, right? That theoretically it should work. To put this in perspective, the performance standard for today's modern day LLMs requires around 10 to the 23 floating operations per second.
Yes.
10 to the 23 is a gigantic number.
I can do that many in my head, but most people can't.
23. Yeah.
I'm completely delusional, but sure.
They're all wrong, but you can do that many in your head, which is impressive. So this is pretty amazing in that effectively, the takeaway, the TLDR is less power, less processing to achieve the same results if this holds at scale, a lot less.
This is a huge breakthrough if it works out.
Yeah. Anyway, this is super cool. It is extremely nerdy, but effectively, if you get rid of the matrix multiplication,
you change the world.
Yeah, you could really change the outcome of this.
Music industry giants allege mass copyright violation by AI firms. Universal Music Group, Sony Music, and Warner Records have sued AI music synthesis companies, Udio and Suno, for allegedly committing mass copyright infringement by using recordings owned by the labels to train music-generating AI models.
There must have been some distillation in the headline from when you got it to when I got it, because when I got it, it just said music industry fails technology yet again, is what I saw. I know a lot of people in the industry. I don't understand how the music industry continues to just be not lagging behind technology, but literally on the opposite side of technology, I feel like every single time.
Well, because you want to steal their stuff. I don't
want to steal their stuff. I want to use their stuff to make better stuff. I want to use their stuff to get to more consumers.
You want to use it freely. You don't want to pay them for what they've recorded.
I'm still pissed off at Lars for going after and suing his fans back when there was the Napster days.
Sure.
And yes, people were illegally downloading music, but you had no other option than going to a fucking CD store and buying plastic.
That was the version he authorized, and that was his right to do as the creator of that material. That was his right to
100%. And it's my right to tell Lars now in my mind to go fuck himself, right? Because that's my right. I get it, but
we all have our rights.
My point is you're just dragging your rights into a world that no longer those rights don't fit.
Well, the option is that they just give away everything for free. I mean, they just want to be paid.
So they're basically saying no AI to use our stuff. We're going to sue for infringement of $150,000 per song that you've used, which is asinine. This will get settled, I'm sure. It'll probably ultimately hurt innovation. It'll probably ultimately hurt consumers, and then somebody will come along and thread the needle and figure out a way through and force their hand. That's exactly what happened with Spotify, what happened with iTunes. It'll happen again here.
Okay, cool.
Also, fuck Lars. I still have a hard time watching like a Metallica video comes on. I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch this. I've listened to him speak. I actually think he's super intelligent and he's articulate, but I'm still kind of like, yeah, man, fuck you. Like, fuck you.
I do feel like they own the intellectual property. I do feel like they have a right to do with it whatever they want. And if they want to drag their feet and just keep the music on piano rolls,
sure,
they have the right to do that.
Sure.
They have the right to do that. It's theirs.
And fine. Go fuck off with your music. I don't care. Take it to the grave. It doesn't matter to me.
You don't have the right to steal it and bring it into the modern world and, sell it as an MP3.
The good news is, just as you said earlier, the tech now has gotten so good and so cheap, so inexpensive that now if you're musically inclined, you can produce a great sounding song
for sure,
for almost no dollars.
And there will be people who do. There were tons of people who came out with songs. When this happened 20 years ago or whatever, when they came out with songs that they didn't have a label backing them.
I think it's great.
They made them in their bedrooms. They made them in their garages.
I think it's incredible.
And there were songs that broke through and became hits by doing that.
I think that's great. And I hope that continues. I believe it will.
Okay, now with the headlines. Up next, we both have some news stories we've wanted to talk about but haven't had a chance.
I just want to talk about WWDC for the rest of the month. Is that okay?
Fantastic. Let's go and do it.
Let's do it. I'm in. Hi.
Hello. I don't know if you're game for this, but what I hoped we could do is maybe look at some headlines that we haven't fully discussed. There's been so many things that have happened in the tech news yet again, and we've fallen behind.
Hold on.
We've not.
You mean we don't cover everything? I thought we got through everything every week.
Isn't that amazing?
15 minutes, just knock it all out. 6 stories about Musk and an Apple story. We call it a day.
And you'd think we could cover absolutely everything in that time, and it turns out when looking back, sometimes there's some really big important things that we just didn't even touch. So probably we should do sweep up episodes every month or so where we look back at things that we didn't cover that actually turned out to be kind of important.
I would say every week there are giant meteors that land on the ground that we miss when it comes to technology because we just get focused on the ones that we think are interesting.
Sure.
No, I think that's a great idea. Well, we had a couple weeks ago, we had WWDC, which we did sort of a quick recap on. We could go back and visit that.
That's where I wanted to start.
That's what I figured you were going to say.
There were so many pieces of that we just kind of blew by so quickly. And I'm not sure we're going to be able to cover, the whole thing today.
Sure.
Let's color in some of the things we just missed.
As I mentioned, I think week before last, our last episode, it's an amazing event. I really do think this was the best WWDC ever. I mean, at least in the last couple of decades, they had so much information.
That presentation was packed.
It was a fire hose.
Crazy packed.
I felt like somebody downloaded Wikipedia and just tried to pump it into my brain via Neuralink. It was so much going on. And there was this, I didn't tell you this, there was a woman sitting next to me who was furiously scribbling notes down. And then at one point, she just fucking quit. She just gave up.
Those poor reporters. I was watching people live blog this thing. And it
watch
was like,
the video later. Why are you doing this to yourself?
Your fingers had to be on fire. Well, they had to do it live because they were blogging live. And so they had to do it live. But it was like, wow, there's so much information.
There was tons and tons of information. There was a lot of big things that they talked about that I think were worth highlighting. They had their Apple Intelligence, which I do think you and I should do a longer episode on at some point because we have different views on this. But
yes,
they're finally bringing AI, sort of as we've all talked about AI in the past year or two, into the iOS ecosystem.
Which I think is fantastic. We both agree on that.
And I think they're doing an excellent job in these first couple steps, right? They're being...
I've been using AI on my phone for 6 months now, and I'm going to tell you, this is revolutionizing the way you use a phone.
Give me your favorite 2 use cases that you've used in the past couple of months.
I'll give you my one.
Okay.
I literally talk to my phone now. I almost never even look at it. I talk to it all the time. I ask it, what's the weather going to be like at Dodger Stadium at 9 p.m. tonight?
Sure.
And the fact is, I just don't have the limited questions that I used to be able to ask Google Assistant.
Yeah.
Now I can ask it anything.
Yeah.
This guy wrote a hit song. Was he a one-hit wonder? Yes, he was. Is he alive or dead? Yes, he's dead. Anything I can think. It's like talking to a person.
What percentage is it right?
Oh.
I feel like you're asking me questions when I'm drunk, and I just like half of them I just make shit up. I'll just be like, Johnny Cash still works at a gas station. You're like, really? Like,
I don't double check everything, but the things I have double checked, it's Gemini. I mean, he gets almost everything right. And I'm sure as soon as I say that, I'm going to get 10.
Sure.
I don't think I've had one errant response yet.
They talked a lot about these improvements, especially around Siri, right? The Apple smart assistant, and really being able to understand context, like between questions.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're going to love this.
Yeah, and like the self-reflecting questions where you're asking it something and it has to sort of have the context of knowing what you previously said.
How many times have I gotten an answer from Gemini and I've said, explain that to me now like I'm a 5-year-old or whatever. And it does. It's remarkable.
I just ask it to play me hippopotamus sounds and it does. I'm like,
yeah, it does.
There was one day that my Google Assistant was like, do you want to know what a hippopotamus sounds like? And I was like, Fuck yeah, I do.
Yes, I do.
I don't know what it sounds like. Is it a pig? Is it like a horse? I have no idea.
Yeah.
It always amuses me, the questions. It's like the kids mode thing that it always asks. And I'm like, yes, this is knowledge I want to have.
I want to see a hippopotamus in a steampunk scuba suit.
I was very impressed with the Apple Intelligence announcement, their launch.
Yeah.
You're looking at mainly on-device processing is the first big component of this. They're trying to push everything locally.
Again, they try to do some on-device stuff here, and I will say mostly large language models will not run on a phone. There's not enough RAM. There's not enough processing.
Yeah.
What you're getting is a very, very pruned artificial intelligence experience. An artificial intelligence, like a large language model, ChatGPT is something like 100 gigabytes of RAM.
Yeah, it's using a lot of memory.
That's what those machines are using. So you don't have that in your pocket. Someday, maybe.
Yet.
Yeah, right.
We are extremely close to that. I think when you say someday maybe, I'm like March of next year, I think, is when that's coming.
I'd love that.
It's not far. They did announce, I mean, I'm way deep in the details here, but they did announce some further quantization of models that they're able to do to limit the amount of memory needed to run it and still get very comparable results. So they are looking at efficiency.
And the amount of power. I mean,
power starts to become the problem.
One query to a large language model would drain your phone.
So it's pretty impressive. So, they're looking at, you can start in the Apple ecosystem on device. You can off shell to their sort of their cloud computing. They tried to put in a bunch of restrictions and I think thoughtfulness around that. We'll take that apart at a future date. And they've also said, look, we're going to be agnostic to large language model providers and allow you to go out to like a ChatGPT. They announced that at WWDC, but then also presumably like a Gemini or other services, which I think is a really interesting move from them, from Apple, because that gets them in this place where they can sort of remain agnostic to the other providers and just use them all, right? It keeps the dangerous content out of the Apple ecosystem.
Do you think it'll stay that way?
I do. I think for a while it will. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the LLM marketplace?
Can I make a prognostication? And I'm talking out of my hat. I have no inside information.
Go.
I have a hunch this will be like search,
Yeah.
where whoever writes
That's
Apple
what
the biggest
I think you're gonna
check
end up with a couple.
is going to be the large language model.
No, I disagree with that. I don't think that's going to be the answer.
Tell me why.
You're dealing with a very different animal here. Well, okay, let me rephrase this. Let me back up a little bit here. The way Apple has positioned this currently is different than search.
Okay.
And I think that's likely going to stay. Again, who knows? Who knows what tomorrow holds? Search has been you're going to go off to somebody else and do search. Apple doesn't want to compete on search, which I think was the right decision. And they said, we're going to let whoever wants to buy this can buy this. You buy the start page.
Whoever can write us the biggest check.
But all you're buying is first placement, right? You can still change it. You can still change it to be...
Most people don't.
Whatever. Bing, Alta Vista. Yeah, sure, most people don't. But the point is you can if you want. You've got choice. Thank you, European Union. You've got choice on this. You can change it if you want.
You had choice before the EU, didn't you?
I know, but it's the extrapolated point of you give them choice, and most people are like, I'm happy with what's here. Fine. Google has been the dominator of search forever, right? For 20 years.
Sure.
They've dominated that space.
I've used DuckDuckGo for years, and it's great.
You and like 6 other people.
I know the numbers are not big, but boy, if you want a good search engine that isn't Google, DuckDuckGo comes highly recommended from me. It is not superior. I will tell you this. There are times when I will abandon DuckDuckGo and go over to Google because I want a little bit more information.
You're having a hard time finding
that does happen. That does happen.
You say superior. I would debate superior with you because superior results maybe. That still doesn't mean DuckDuckGo isn't superior overall, but that's a separate point for us to argue later.
Of course.
But I get what you're saying.
Sure.
Here's why I think it's going to be different. When you're dealing with these large language models, and especially what they can know about you, you've got to make a choice as a guardian or gatekeeper of data. You've got to make a choice if you want that to be out there or not. And I feel like with search, it was, how bad could it be? And now we're starting to see what that looks like, right? I mean, in 2005, people weren't running around too worried about what search or what knowing what somebody's interest was going to look like.
Yeah.
A couple really smart people were, right? One of them's last name started with Z, and he decided not to sell that business, and now is sitting on a giant company because they know everything about you.
He's talking about Zuckerberg of Facebook. I'm just going to clue you in.
Is that his name? Yeah. Now, here's the thing. People just give up all that information for fucking free.
Sure.
And I want to believe, I suspect at least the way they're starting, Apple's saying, we don't want all of our users, because they are now the dominating force, to throw all that data up to anybody, not even to Apple. And I think they're trying to create a line there for that, which is why I don't think...
How do you stop that? How do you stop that if you're sending stuff off to ChatGPT? They're going to grab that data anyway. They're going to have that data anyway.
I mean, what I think Apple is doing is making a very clear line in the sand of what you are and are not sending to ChatGPT. So you want to send a prompt to ChatGPT from inside iOS 18? Great. You can do it all day long. They're not going to just take all of your email and your texts and your usage habits of apps and just dump all of that
and send that to ChatGPT. Of course not. Of course.
And that's from what I can tell from watching the keynote and looking at some of these demos, that's not even like an option. There's no way to do that, right? You can turn on the ability to ask ChatGPT shit or not.
One would hope not.
One would hope not, exactly. But if ChatGPT showed up and said, "Oh, we'll give you $1 bajillion," then maybe they would say, "Okay, we're fine with that." I think they're drawing the line and saying we don't need your money.
I don't think that's exactly how it'll work. I think you will still get somebody like ChatGPT who writes a big check to Apple for using their large language model.
Why?
And what they'll do is they'll push the other side. They'll say, when somebody inquires about laundry detergent, talk about Tide.
Sure.
You can come at it from the other direction.
It still makes it like an ad model so that they're driving revenue by who they're placing in the thing.
Yes.
I mean, I could see that world. I don't think that's the way it's going to end up, but I could see that world potentially.
I have no inside knowledge. That was just my guess.
I do think the world outside of Apple, you're going to end up with a couple LLMs. You're not going to need 50. You're going to end up with a couple, kind of like you saw with search. You don't need 15 search engines. You sort of need a couple. And that's probably what's going to happen with LLMs. Who's going to be the dominant force for mobile? I don't know. I like this approach of them staying agnostic. Apple's currently taking. I think it does a lot for them. I think it keeps the bad content, the content that has brand risk for Apple, and it puts it outside the walled garden. It doesn't even spread it around. It says it's not us.
Right.
Like if you shell out and you go make some pictures of squirrels humping, not that I've ever asked Stable Diffusion to do that, but I'm saying theoretically, if you said squirrels humping.
What's the better one? It's unstable diffusion?
Unstable diffusion, yeah.
Unstable diffusion will make anything.
Oh, fuck, it doesn't care. I think that was a suggested topic when I first went there. They're like, squirrels having sex on the beach in Hawaii. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm clicking on that. Why would I not? I don't even know how a squirrel even does this. Like, they got tails and shit. How does this work? I don't know.
You can see the same thing like in a National Geographic film. It's probably not going to be that.
Yeah, but it's way more
revealing.
fun if they're wearing Viking clothes, right? And eating popsicles. National Geographic. Who are you, Blue Planet?
I love Blue Planet.
Of course, Blue Planet's amazing. So I think it's interesting for them to sort of keep that aside. I also think, some people have said by allowing Apple users to shell out to all these LLMs, or if you're LLM agnostic, if you're using ChatGPT and Gemini, whatever.
Sure.
You're sort of keeping those people from wanting to make a device to access ChatGPT, for example, sort of keeping them out of Apple's hardware space. I don't know if I really buy that. I could see that being true.
I don't buy that for a second.
Because it's a really hard space to get into. I don't know. Maybe if you don't have access to ChatGPT and Microsoft is sitting behind that and they go, well, people want access to this, we're going to put out a Zune-like
sure.
Rabbit R1 device to access ChatGPT. Maybe that's a thing. But now that you've got Apple in front of that, you would never do it, right? You would just access it from your smartphone. What do you care?
Absolutely not true. I would do it in a heartbeat.
I don't buy it.
Furthermore, the thing that I think everybody is sort of, I don't know what, this will come. This is my prediction. Again, I'm going to make another prognostication.
I love your predictions.
CJ.
This is great.
It's prognostication day.
Please, somebody write this down.
I think it's going to be through your earpods, your earbuds, whatever those things are called.
What's going to be through your earpods?
Instead of, everybody thinks it's going to be through the glasses, right? I think most of the things, because so much of it is auditory that I currently am using LLMs for.
Sure.
I think I could have it in my ears and I could literally just say, whatever the keyword is, and then say
two things on that.
How old is Daryl Hall? And in my ear comes back the information. That's all that has to happen.
Yeah, but you can literally do that now, like today.
I can literally have some other smaller device like a watch or something. I don't have to have this big slab of glass in my pocket.
Oh, you're saying like just AirPods?
Yes.
I mean, because right now I put my AirPods in and ask Siri to tell me all sorts of nonsensical shit without pulling my phone out of my pocket.
saying get rid of the phone.
Sure.
You're not going to need the phone.
Are you arguing for miniaturization in technology?
Has that ever happened before? Is there any precedent for this?
Are you stealing Gordon Moore's law for a second time on this show? Basically, when he says prognostication, what he means is, I just read this on Wikipedia last night. I'm going to re-represent it as my own. Sir, you can no longer run to be the president of a major university.
What do you mean last night? Gordon said this 59 years ago.
I'm just saying you read it last night, as if you haven't known about Moore's law for the last 40 years. Look, I think you're going to end up with both. What I think is so interesting, though, about eyes is you process so much more bandwidth through your eyes
for sure.
your ears. I don't think those are mutually exclusive at all. I mean, already the things that we can do with voice are absolutely bananas.
I think we're going to have an exponential level of things that we can do with voice. I think we've barely scratched the surface.
My mother had very limited use of her extremities, and I tried for years to set up computers for her that she could use using voice manipulation software.
Yeah.
And I bought the best stuff that I could buy.
Sure.
And I was so disappointed every time I just could not deliver. It was very clunky.
Awful.
It didn't work well. She'd get very frustrated. It was really terrible.
Yeah.
And now, really in the past year or two, frankly, right after she died, the technology's gotten good enough now that she could use it.
Right.
I think that's great. For everybody else that has difficulty typing or doesn't have good use of their extremities, that's amazing. Even before you get to a Neuralink, the fact that you can just use your voice and query just about anything and get results and move around in applications is incredible.
But the Neuralink part of that is important. Don't discount the Neuralink part of that, because the fact that I don't have to phrase things in a certain way. When I walk around my house and I want to tell it certain lights to turn on or turn off or dim to a certain level, I used to have to phrase those sentences very carefully.
You had to speak like the machine.
Yeah, and now I can say them in any sloppy way that I want.
Totally.
And it can remember context. And I don't have to tell it again the second time.
Hey, Google, squirrels are fucking. Turn the lights down. That's what you do now?
But if I say turn it down to 50% and then I decide, I don't like the 50%, I want it to be even lower, the next time I say it, I don't have to tell it which lights to turn down. All I have to say is, now try 25. And it does.
I feel like you should fuck with that more. You should be like, please set the lights to pi times 20%. Just see what happens.
I don't think the LLM would have any trouble with that.
It'll probably give you back the wrong answer. It'll just come back and be like, Dick Abbott. And you'll be like, what? No. That's not what I asked. That's not what I said.
I have very few problems with hallucinations for those types of uses.
Sure.
If I'm looking up information about news that broke yesterday, I might get some crazy hallucinations.
I think when you have conflicting sources or things that aren't as clear.
Of course.
Obviously, that's where it gets confused. Let's put Apple Intelligence to bed for a second. It's super interesting. Yeah. It's got a lot of, I think out of the gate, it has a lot of very quote unquote safe uses for consumers, from summarizing your emails to retoning your writing, being able to do very basic generative image.
The stuff where the processing is actually happening on the iPhone. That's great stuff. Yes,
so
of course.
It's still very early. I think it's a great V1. They honestly exceeded my expectations what I thought they were going to come out with. There'll be a lot more to talk about and a lot more to tell, but it's super interesting. You're going to have these features, at least in the US, by September. So this is coming real fast. They have a bunch of other improvements in iOS 18 that are not nearly as significant as AI, right? AI is that one big leap forward. This other stuff are all these little tiny improvements that I think a lot of folks glossed over or sort of made fun of. I think these are super interesting, and I'm going to tell you why.
What are you thinking of?
They talk about home screen customizations. That was the open in the keynote, and I was like, eye roll. Right. Like, really?
You bought an Android from 15 years ago.
Well, this is a little bit different, and I'm going to debate you on this. So Federighi, their VP of software engineering, he even threw a little shade at how they waited 18 years to do this, right? So being able to put buttons anywhere you want on the home screen, long overdue, not what I would call an innovation.
Sure.
That thing's been sitting on somebody's Jira backlog for 15 fucking years. They finally got around to doing it.
And on Android, it's been there forever.
Of course.
Yeah.
Amazing. Everybody should use an Android phone. If you can't afford an Android phone, you buy an iPhone.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, 100%. I think they're great.
No, let me just explain. I can afford any phone I want. I can afford as many phones as I want.
The bear.
And I prefer Android.
I regret poking the bear. All right, Shilly McShilstein. The fact that you could not put buttons anywhere on the screen is unacceptable.
It was unacceptable.
But listen, you gotta just think about this for a second. You're an engineer at Apple, and your choice is to work on moving the buttons to anywhere on the screen or fucking artificial intelligence. Which one do you pick?
Because there's just
nobody
6 engineers
wants to
at
go
Apple?
pick the shitty move the home screen buttons around. Like, that thing was just sitting in someone's back. I expected a laugh somewhere in there. That thing was just sitting on someone's backlog. Jesus, when you're 2 sentences past the punchline, folks, you just know it's not going to come. You know that
I'm laughing that you were thinking you were going to laugh at that.
Yeah. Fuck. So it's ridiculous that you couldn't move buttons around. Fine. Set that aside. They did some really kind of cutesy things around the icons that are non-simplistic. Like being able to put icons from light mode to dark mode. First, I was like,
sure.
Really, guys? Like, come on. That's like the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Again, been able to do it for at least 10 years.
But then when you think of but as well as that,
yeah, as well as that. Okay. Absolutely.
Can you tint them?
By the way, I have 3, 4, 5 different apps I can choose to do it. So I can do it in all kinds of different ways if I want to.
That's right.
And I can make the icons different shapes if I want to.
Yeah, that was okay. But you were changing icon sets, right? That's what they were doing.
I can actually color the default icons. I can change all of those things. I also have icon sets, which are what I use, which allow me to give completely different icons. I have
for your system settings, but it doesn't change all your apps as well, does it?
Yeah.
Okay, show me.
Here's white. The icon pack is white.
Okay.
If I go into my apps drawer, all of my icons are white.
Those are all your Google apps?
Yeah. Everything.
What about third-party apps?
You're seeing hundreds of third-party, not hundreds, but you're seeing way too many third-party apps. They are all white.
Amazing.
Dude, I'm not saying this is a bad thing Apple did this. I'm saying, thank God Apple's finally done this. You're going to really like this.
Control Center, they made some Control Center customizations improvements. I think those were long overdue.
Yeah, sure.
I actually think people don't give that enough shit. But being able to integrate better to that was lovely. Hopefully less of a shit show than some of the other solutions I've seen in the past for being able to put notifications up.
Sure.
That wasn't super exciting. I do like the customization ability on, like I said, icon sets or whatever. Make your phone more of a, like, not a fashion accessory, but more of an extension of you than just a phone.
Make it fit your personality. I think that's great.
I dig that. Let's get into some more meaty things on iOS, specifically iMessage. We're going to start with the ones you want to make fun of first.
I can't wait to see it. I'm excited.
Tapback with emojis now in color as opposed to single color. Big deal. Do you have color emojis on your Android phone? No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you don't. You just told me all your emojis are white.
My icons are white.
They're all just white emojis.
Don't
go back on it now.
I can make them any color I'd like. I can make them as many colors as I'd like.
Tapback with color emojis is kind of fucking ridiculous.
That's not true. I think I'm limited to 16 million.
Every other platform, 16.8. Good job, Rayman.
Something like that, yeah.
A little ridiculous that we didn't have color emojis. Fine. And you can now select any emoji from the Unicode set. Amazing. This hasn't been in Slack and every other messaging app for the past 20 years.
Except for the fact that it has.
Fine.
By the way, the same thing with Send Later.
Of course.
I use Send Later on Signal all the time.
I'm really
it's wonderful.
fascinated to see Send Later's implementation in iMessage. What they've said is people that have looked at the beta said that the first beta allows you to send a message up to 14 days in advance. And after scheduling it, it gives you like this little, like a visibility into it with a little dotted blue line around it.
Sure.
And you can edit and reschedule. So really simplistic interface.
Signal does that exact same thing.
I like the idea to be able to send something outside of someone's time zone. I wish they sort of built that in instead, like send this when it's safe, but they have the notifications off, whatever, which I guess is close enough.
Right.
I just feel like I'm going to be getting more spam from my friends where it's like Tuesday morning, like, did you remember to blah, blah, blah? Like, fuck, come on.
Yeah.
This iMessage stuff, they put in some font formattings. You can do bold and italics, things you've never seen before. Strikeout, if you even know what that is.
Again, been on Signal forever, but
I didn't know Strikeout was in Signal. I never used Strikeout in Signal.
100% it's there.
It's good to know that's there. But you can't do the text effects, so that's very innovative.
Text effects will be fun.
All right, now let's get to some good stuff. Satellite sending in the U.S. for iMessages. That's pretty cool.
I think that's going to be one of the most exciting things from the iPhone, especially if you camp, and you do.
I do camp.
You get outside of where you have cell signal. That's going to be fantastic.
I think I'm a little trepidatious about this. Let me tell you why.
I think every phone's getting this.
Here's the problem. When you go to a hotel, whatever, a very nice Marriott,
They always have Wi-Fi. Of course
they have Wi-Fi, which is great.
That's not the use case I'm concerned about.
This is an analog. Okay. The Wi-Fi at the hotel is what? It's always one thing. Every Wi-Fi in every hotel is always the same thing. What is it? It's completely unusable. And it's fucking unusable because you've got 700 people streaming Netflix at the same time across the Wi-Fi. So meanwhile, I'm trying to upload 3 20 kilobyte files to AWS and I can't do it because everyone has clogged the Wi-Fi.
I have not had that problem in years in hotels, but I understand every hotel is going to be different in that regard.
I would just once like to stay in a hotel where the Wi-Fi actually works at reasonable rates. And I say it not terrible places. Anyway, my assumption is folks are going to just blow up these satellite messengers and it's going to make a really good thing very intermittent. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Can I throw in a little thought?
I cannot wait. Android's been doing it for years. Let me. I'm going to get a button.
Android doesn't do it.
Do you know
Apple's going to be
Do you
Android
remember
for
when
this.
Staples had the thing? They had the little "That was easy" button.
Yeah.
I'm going to get one of those and I'm going to re-record it so it just says Android's been doing that for years, and that'll be every time I talk about anything Apple. I'll just press it and it'll just be an AI version of your voice being like, "Finally coming to Apple. Android's been doing it for years. It'll be great." Go ahead. Sorry.
When BlackBerry was sending all those emails, they were quickly going to saturate the amount of email you could send over the cellular system, and this was a big giant worry.
So they upgraded it.
What happened was it didn't become an intermittent and unusable service. What happened is they just increased the bandwidth, the amount of messages that you can send. That's what's going to happen with these satellites.
So I hope. So Apple partnered with Globalstar for the satellite connectivity, and those guys are launching a new constellation that is supposedly on track for late 2025. So hopefully that gets us there.
You're going to get more data. You're going to get faster data.
Yeah.
It will just continue to improve.
Yeah, I get it. And I don't want it to be a pay-for feature, but there is some benefit to being a pay-for feature because then people that actually want it to work and need it will pay for it, like the express lane on the freeway. If the express lane wasn't a paid-for lane, then people would just be in it, and then you're just stuck. So I don't know.
And then a guy goes out camping who can't afford it, and now he's stuck because he can't communicate. Let's not make it a paid-for feature. Let's lump it in with everything else.
Look, for SOS, 100% agree.
The last thing I need is one more service that wealthy people can afford that the rest of the world can't.
For SOS, I 100% agree. You're already carrying a $1,200 phone with you. And if you're camping, you've already gone to REI and spent $5,000 on a fucking tent and some sleeping bags and some pottery. This isn't a use case for folks that aren't spending money.
I would bet a lot of money there are people who who have used gear and who have camped for a long time and who can do it much more economically.
I just hope people don't abuse it.
Yeah.
Again, for SOS, I'm with you 100%.
I'm with you.
Folks always like to consume these things ad nausea, especially the children. The children just don't give a shit. They're just like,
sure,
my kids want Wi-Fi in the car at all times to stream fucking Blippi. And I'm just like,
sure,
no, for so many reasons. But that's a separate episode we'll talk about. Satellite connectivity, super cool.
Super cool.
RCS. So RCS coming, they did not make this a key from their event, but I think it's great. So this, for folks that aren't aware, bringing RCS into the iPhone world will allow you to talk to your Android friends. You'll be able to send higher resolution photos and videos, audio messages. You'll have a typing indicator, all the shit that you're used to in your iMessage that everyone else has had for years. Jeff will tell you, read receipts, all of that stuff. You'll get now inside of RCS.
They aren't giving you the RCS that Android is using for encrypting if I'm talking Android to Android, I'm going through an encrypted chain. And so there's no data that's available for anyone to look at or read other than the end party that I'm sending it to, and vice versa.
Okay, so you're saying Apple's implementation is all clear text.
I'm saying they are not supporting the encryption. And so when I text you on your iOS phone, I'm not sending in encrypted messages. I won't get a lock that tells me you and I are sending secure text.
Interesting. Okay.
But if I send that to a group of people and we're all on Android phones, I get that lock and it's all secure.
Okay.
iMessage across iPhone to iPhone user is still not even the same thing because Apple does have the keys.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want to bog down on that, but the bottom line is it's great. Apple has finally put RCS onto iMessage.
My understanding is they're supporting the RCS spec, and I think that that's great. If there's other extensions to it that others have developed, awesome. Maybe we'll get there at some point. Still happy that they're rolling RCS out.
It's a big step in the right direction.
The thing I was impressed with on iOS 18 is the tap to cache, which I thought was really cool. Just as a very simple NFC functionality where you can bump your phones together like you do for contact exchange.
Sure.
But now it's just cached with no, I don't give somebody my phone number to put into Zelle or whatever. You just tap and cache goes from one to the other. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Tell me how that's different from like a Venmo. If I want to send you money on Venmo, I don't need your phone number. I just need your username.
I need your Venmo ID, right? So I've still gotten something from you.
I also don't even have to be standing next to you.
No, this isn't for that use case. This to me is the cash use case. It really is the cash.
Yeah.
I want to hand you $20. This is the way to do it. Whereas everything else has some identifier tied back to you.
Well, I'm looking at you. You're not entirely anonymous. I'm literally looking at your face.
I'm wearing a hood.
I can reach out and I can grab you.
Sure, this doesn't mean you're not anonymous.
I don't care. Move on. I think it's great. Tap to pay is wonderful. Tap to send cash, whatever it's called. Fabulous. Let's do it.
And super anonymous. Say it. Say and super anonymous, and I'll move on.
Nothing about it's anonymous.
It's the most anonymous thing I've ever seen. I want to hear it. God damn it! I want to hear.
It's the least anonymous thing I've ever heard of. I can tell the sketch artist exactly how to draw you.
Fuck. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. They made the iPad better. It's bigger, and they made photos better. Anyway, moving on.
I think they made the iPod a lot better. I think you're giving this short shrift.
They when they got to the iPad, the first thing they showed was the calculator app.
Sure.
And I thought 100%. I was like, this is basically like an April Fool's joke. They're going to just put this in there to give folks something to complain about. Like, ooh, you brought the calculator to the iPad. And like, I'm pretty sure I felt my eyes roll in my head.
You had third-party calculators, didn't you?
Of course.
It's not like you didn't have a million calculators at your disposal.
I have a great RPN one that I use for reverse Polish notation. I was like, this is dumb. Like, what are we doing? And then they showed it. And then I was like, ooh, this is worth watching.
Yeah.
So the basic gist of it is that you can type or
you can draw on it.
Write out mathematical expressions.
Yes.
And it solves them. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Right. And it solves it in your handwriting. So you see,
yes,
you say, 7 plus 3 equals, and it shows 10. All right, cool. You can put in variables, and then you can assign variables different values to see how it works. It's like, oh,
absolutely.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And then when you would change the formula, so if you say, 7x plus 3 times 10,
sure,
it will update the variable in your drawing. It'll update. I'm like, okay.
In your handwriting, like, in your handwriting.
So for learning math, this is pretty cool, right? I'm thinking about students, I'm thinking about my kids, and I'm like, this is pretty cool.
It's amazing.
But they weren't done. They then started graphing functions, and you just write out the function and draw a graph, and it would just fucking plot it for you. And I'm like,
yes,
how many hours of my life did I spend typing this into a fucking Texas Instruments TI-82?
Exactly.
And by the way, back then, that was the coolest thing ever, because if you didn't have that, you literally had to plot points yourself and draw the fucking graph yourself.
Absolutely.
Now you just scribble this shit down with your Apple Pencil and hit equals go, and it does it. And you can put multiple equations on the same graph. Like, somebody had a lot of fun making this, or not someone, a group of people had a lot of fun making this. I was very impressed. I'm like, this is an excellent calculator app.
For sure.
For like learning and doing stuff, especially for students, like for learning math.
For sure.
And math concepts. I thought that was super cool. So then they have this smart script. That was the other thing that they showed on the iPad, which makes your handwriting look like a better version of your handwriting, right? It literally makes it easier to read, straightens it out, makes it more legible, smooths, your crappy handwriting. And at first I saw this and I was just like, oh man, I can't wait for my doctor to put their script into this. And I'm like, now I can actually fucking read what you're writing, you asshole, your scribbly scribble. No, but and then it also makes handwriting. This is something I have not seen before. I'm not saying someone hasn't done it, but I've never seen this done where you can handwrite in pencil, whatever, digital pencil, and then edit and insert, and then it just reflows all the text.
That's beautiful.
In your handwriting. And I was like, okay, this is why you need the smart script. You need to be able to create the writing first. Once you can create the writing, now everything else is trivial, right? You want to scribble out words, right? You want to cut and paste.
Now it's a font.
Yeah, it's a font, exactly.
Yeah.
And the fact that they could cut and paste text, like typed text into your handwriting, I was like, all right, this is super cool. And then the next part of my brain was thinking about how much processing power we were using to get handwriting. Like, we've come full circle.
Here's the hard part. Think about, it's not a big deal for the letters you've already written.
Yeah.
All right. If you've already written the letters, they've got it.
Sure.
Fine. They can grab it. They can put it in the font.
Sure.
It's the ones you haven't where they're making a guess as to how you would most likely.
How you make an umlaut.
Yeah. How you would most likely write this letter.
The funny Brazilian C in acai. Make that for me. Let's see what happens.
Sure.
So the other thought that I had after I was thinking about literally how much processing power is going to making your handwriting look like handwriting, which is just amazing to me. But then I'm thinking about the juxtaposition between this tap for cash, where I can just trade money with you using my phone and tapping with you, versus the common quote unquote way we do it, which is I scribble my signature on a piece of paper that I then hand to you with some dollar amount. Like, that is somehow the secure system.
People haven't done that for years. You and I are the last two people who do that.
Still write checks. I write like one check a year and it's to the same person. Last on the iPad, SharePlay. The coolest feature of this to me was allowing users to take over the screen of another Apple user, basically like remote control. And my first thought was, like, every poor grandson and granddaughter out there now that's going to be doing tech support phone calls to help their Nona and Pappy log into Facebook. I'm like, oh,
sure.
This is shitty for them. They revamped the photo app quite a bit. This looked great. There just a lot of smarts, what I'm guessing are AI powered smarts, how they organize your library, making sure you're seeing your most recent and favorite clips of things. I thought that was super cool. Go watch the demo. Photo editing, things that you have seen on other platforms for a long time, being able to remove people from the background or whatnot. Again, I'll use in their AI platform. The coolest part of the Photos app, the spatial photos, the Vision OS 2. This is kind of cool. Not part of the Photos app, but I lumped it in here as part of the Photos improvement, where they are taking existing images that you have in your library from whenever, and on the Vision Pro, you can turn it into a spatial photo. So for those of you who don't know, a spatial photo is basically a stereoscopic photo.
That's incredible.
Which you can take that content on your Vision Pro or on your iPhone 15 Pro currently, presumably the future ones.
It's not a true stereo photo, but there's some math that's being done that makes it look almost perfectly like a stereo photo.
It's faking out your brain.
It's faking out your brain. Remarkable.
And it's pretty cool that it's giving you some depth on this using what I believe is nothing but the pixels. There's no depth map. There's nothing else that it has.
Right, of course.
And that's pretty compelling. And I'm very excited. I've seen some demos in the past that folks have done this with video. And if Apple brings this into their playbook, that would be incredibly compelling. If you could take old video, make them spatial so that when you put on a pair of goggles, you feel like you're there. That to me is super compelling. Apple Mail got some improvements, most of which look just like what you have in Gmail, like multiple categories for, primary and transactions and updates, that kind of crap.
Super useful.
Super useful. It was a lot. And I'm curious to see what they do next, especially with AI.
And we have not even scratched the surface. There are still so many things. I mean, it was quite a presentation.
I know.
All right, so we didn't get to a lot of other headlines, but we'll do that another time because there's still a whole bunch of stuff that I want to talk about that we have just blown by.
We're doing like 3 more weeks of WWDC updates, right? Isn't that what we're doing for the next
sure,
every episode?
And then we'll go back to hurricanes, and then we'll do update the news. That'll be great. That'll be awesome.
And then hurricanes. We'll do locusts in hurricanes.
Excellent.
Yeah, great. And then airplanes.
We have to get out of here, but quickly before we do, have you seen or read anything good this last week?
Yes. In between just watching WWDC highlights over and over, mainly looking for pictures of myself in the background eating. The salmon was delicious, by the way. You are 100% going to make fun of me for this.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to tell you that the most interesting thing I've watched in the past 2 weeks, because remember, we didn't do a show last week.
Yeah, sure.
In the past 2 weeks was when I was camping with my oldest son. All he wanted to do was ride his bike. This kid loves to ride his bike.
Why am I going to make fun of that? That's the greatest thing ever.
Hold on.
Oh, I think that's amazing.
All day, every day, he wants to ride his bike. So I wrote it. I was like, it's vacation, whatever you want to do, man.
Yeah.
We did, like, by the way, 7 miles in one day. His new bike that he got for his birthday has 8 speeds.
Okay.
And he's using, I'm going to guesstimate 85 to 90% of his brain to just figure out what gear he should be in. The kid has so many questions.
Oh, sure.
He doesn't understand how it works. Every time he changes gears, he announces it from 30 feet away.
I love it.
Daddy, I'm in 3. I'm like,
sure.
Great. Like, it's fantastic. He asked me a very insightful question. I have a little beach cruiser I was riding with him, and it has 3 speeds on it, but there are no sprockets because I explained to him the ratio of the gears. That's how it works.
Oh.
And he's like, Daddy, how do these work? Like, I don't understand. There's no sprockets. And I said, well, it's inside the hub. And I was trying to explain to him how an internal geared hub works.
Sure.
And then I realized very quickly, I don't actually know. Like, I know the gist of it, but the mechanics of it, I don't know. So the most interesting thing I watched last week was a video called How Does a 3-Speed Internal Gear Hub Work?
Of course.
And I watched it with my son and my poor fucking children. Normal kids are watching Peppa Pig and Paw Patrol and like enjoying that. Meanwhile, mine are watching animated videos on planetary gear systems. And by the way, the first 2/3 of it he was into and loved.
Of course.
Like asking questions and how it worked. All I'm saying here, the point of this is that my children are doomed. That's really the point of what I'm trying to convey here.
Or not, or they're just the most fortunate because you can look up anything on YouTube.
I know, that's the cool part. I think that's the meta lesson.
It's really remarkable.
But how about you? What did you watch that was once again better than what I watched?
That I think is an important lesson for your kids to get too. Is don't be afraid to things you don't know. Just go find out what they are.
Yeah.
Imagine you're tasked with creating a sketch comedy show, one that will debut on network TV in its 1990s heyday in prime time.
Yeah.
Such a bold, probably misguided idea requires a big star, maybe one who became the centerpiece of Saturday Night Live and starred in a summer blockbuster. But a series like this would probably need performers and writers too. Maybe like Stephen Colbert, Steve Carell, Louis C.K., Charlie Kaufman.
Oh, I know what this is.
And Robert Smigel.
Yeah.
Yes, an all-star team.
Yeah.
This actually happened
in
1996 with the Dana Carvey show. And there is a wonderful documentary about the whole ordeal. Rotten Tomatoes says, offering a detailed and highly entertaining oral history of the failed Dana Carvey show.
Oh, yeah.
Too Funny to Fail is too funny to be missed. Too Funny to Fail, the life and death of the Dana Carvey show on Hulu, Disney Plus now. It's great.
I know I always say that I'm going to go watch this. I am going to go watch this tonight because I remember that show and there was no reason for that show to fail. That show should have been the funniest fucking thing on television ever made.
And it became the funniest thing on television ever made. In fact, reviewers who panned the first episodes went back and watched the later episodes
and thought they were great
and redid reviews, did new reviews and said, this is great.
Yeah.
One reviewer in particular.
That was good times. That's awesome. What is it on? It's on Disney?
It's a great doc. It's on
Disney
doc.
Plus?
Disney, which is Disney Plus, which contains now Hulu as well.
Awesome.
Very
I will
cool.
definitely watch that.
That is the episode.
Thank you for joining us for all this nonsense and truly terrible podcast from our awful company. Visit us on the web at nonsense.production/WWDC. I'm Stu.
I'm Jeff Parker.
If you like this program, please follow, download, subscribe, and like it. Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, AntennaPod, iHeartRadio, Spotify, My Favorite, Overcast, or wherever you may get your podcasts from.
Nonsense Studios are guarded by Barkley the dog. Barkley's a rescue mutt, free and open source. Next time you're tempted to buy an inbred dog or a purebred dog, don't. Get a Barkley. You'll be so glad you did. Special thanks to our floor director, John Abelnor.
The problem with Barkley is he's not open source.
He is open source.
You can't trust him. You can't review the DNA.
You can x-ray that thing. You can see the whole thing inside. It's just great. You can have his DNA tested. You can see all about how he was made.
Sir, what's the nature of these tests you're requiring for your dog? I need to review his code. I'm sorry. I can't trust him unless I can review the peeing on the couch routine.
Yes.
I need to make sure that that's not called by any other functions upstream. We'll be here every Thursday morning for more nonsense. Please join us.
You can talk over me if you want.
We really get to the passive aggressive stuff at the end. That's really where we get to it at the end. Oh yeah, you can just talk over me if you want. That's fine. We're not with people. They have 2 ears. We'll put one in each ear. It'll be fine.